Do you like Chris better or Kimberly better as a co-host?
I honestly, I believe the two of them.
Recuse yourself.
No, the two of them together could really change not only this industry but others. Just about talking about this one topic. How can we show it more powerfully? How can we show it more powerfully for one another? That would be a great topic. Kristen,
all right, so
would be great.
Let's do that. We'll set up a show and have them go back and forth on this.
Us.
I know, right?
Boom.
Surprise!
Hello. A surprise. These guys got to be careful what they ask for.
That's so true.
Welcome, everybody, to No Vacancy Live. I'm your co-host today, Chris Green, and I have my lovely co-host, Kimberly Christner, the CEO of Cornerstone Hospitality. Kimberly, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing? Did you have a great weekend?
I did. I think it's going to be great to get together and talk today, take over the show. And have a surprise for our viewing audience today. And I'm so excited to get control. I know this is something that you and I have been talking about behind the scenes. So who's our guest today?
Well, first of all, no one has a control problem here, right? I mean, we don't have any control problems. That's not our gig. So I don't know. I think we have some surprise guests today, but I think we're familiar with them, and I think they're going to be interested in the questions we have. Nothing like putting them on the spot instead of just ourselves all the time when we're on, right? They ask questions all the time to their guests and to us when we come on about things we didn't expect the question to be. So they get to be in the hot seat for a minute.
Yeah, listen, we wanted to have a good time today. First day back from the holiday, so we've got two guests for you. Well, we have one. So who's our first guest today, Kimberly?
I think it's Glenn, the show.
Glenn,
yeah,
right.
That's
right. And then where is his faithful sidekick?
Well, I heard there was some kind of event between you and Anthony, and what happened there?
So we played in poker. You know, he's always giving me a hard time on the show. He's always like, Chris, you're taking over. You're always here. You're bothering me. Well, I beat him on poker really pretty badly. And so I guess when he heard I was coming on today to help out with this, he just didn't show up.
Oh, he was intimidated. Is that what
Maybe.
I can't imagine Anthony being intimidated, but I don't know. If you beat him at poker and you've been threatening this and he's been teasing you, then, it might be the time. And I get to miss the opportunity, as the last time I was on the show, I had a really good time with him. And I think one of the reasons that I'm actually back is because of him and also because of the people commenting on the show. But I'm excited to be back and excited to be co-hosting with you.
Well, why don't we get to it and bring on our special guest for the day and get going with our questions.
That sounds great.
All right. Surprise.
So great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Nobody ever asked me to do anything like this, so it's such an honor to be here on such a prestigious show.
What's so kind of cool about this too for those watching is Anthony nor Glenn knew that we were going to be doing this. The producer kept this secret until just today. So this is a surprise for them as well. Not just a surprise that we're on, but surprise that they're not hosting.
Well, I call it a relief personally, because now I don't have to work so hard, and I can have a little schadenfreude and watch you guys suffer. So it'll be good all around.
Yeah.
Glenn, listen, initially, how does it feel just having the tables turned just a little bit? I mean, I've known you for a long time, and I don't know how long it's been. It's probably been 8 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And how does it feel to have the tables turned just to be interviewee?
I got to tell you, it's a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's awesome because finally I get a chance to say the things that I want to say without having to worry about all those pesky guests out there.
Well, let's ask you first, Glenn. What's your background today? You've got a different background today.
Yes. All right. So I wasn't sure what you meant. I thought we were maybe talking about my life background, but actually this background over here is the JW Marriott Anaheim. It's just opened, and I want everybody to have a chance to check it out. One of the things, Kimberly, that I've been dealing with every day is having backdrops that I haven't been able to figure out. They're either too matrixy or I've stolen somebody else's living room. So I said, every day on the show, let's do something different. Let's feature another great hotel from around the world so people can see how amazing hospitality can be and what designs can bring to it. This one was designed by Kay Lang. I don't know if everybody knows her. She's a great designer in our business, and they are finally open, although they were set to open a number of months ago, but being in the Anaheim Resort District, they waited. They are now there. Click the next event for California Lodging Investment Conference will be taking place there in person on March 4th, 2021. So I'm very excited about all of this, and I hope you guys could get out and visit some of the hotels we'll be featuring here every single day. No Vacancy Live.
Very
awesome.
good.
Awesome. So Glenn, we want to get right to it since you're our guest for the day.
Yep.
One of the things I was thinking about when we talked about preparing for the show is, you and I have done business. We've known each other. You've interviewed me for lots of things over the years, and we've talked as friends as well as coworkers. But when this all went down and you were really thinking about what do I go next, what was the impetus behind you and Anthony putting together the show, the energy behind it, and also, where does your passion for hospitality well up from inside to make you so passionate about it?
Right. That is a whole lot to unbox at once. But let's start with your first question, Chris. Yeah, I've known you for a long time, and I do want to say how much I appreciated our relationship, but also you taking a chance with me to throw some support behind me when I launched all of these efforts, and I launched NoVacancyNews.com. It's great to have good people like you in my corner to help me build from there and able to feed my family and make a decent living. But when it came to this particular show, what I thought was necessary was all of a sudden everything changed. I was supposed to be getting ready to go to the Hunter Hotels Investment Conference where I was going to be broadcasting live. I just gotten access to LinkedIn Live in the holiday season of last year. And I really wanted to make some important changes to the way that I do things here to better connect to audiences that are out there. Well, this whole crisis started. We didn't know what to do. So I think one day I just got somebody to come on and started talking at some random time. Then I got, I believe, Chip Rogers to come on from the AHLA. And Anthony is like, we need to do this. And we decided to start doing it every single day to try to bring some sort of sense to our great community about what was going on. And our hope was to be a unifying factor and just to try to give people the answers that they needed in order to survive, while also telling the stories behind the scenes of what makes each and every one of us human. I remember, Chris, when you called me that day and said that you would be interested in coming on, and how excited I was about the notion of you coming onto our show and talking in an honest and an open sort of a way. And it's been that. And people like you have really helped set the tone for people coming on and being unbelievably open with us and truthful about what they're experiencing every day. So my goal started out just to bring some sort of sanity to everybody. I never expected that we become such an important factor in helping people find emotional health while giving them the keys to the kingdom there to find success on the way out.
You're a good guest.
Yes.
I promised you I would talk and not leave you hanging.
Well, before we ask you the next question, we want to encourage everyone who's watching in the audience today to go ahead and post some comments that you'd like or questions that you'd like us to ask Glenn. We're going to get to those later in the broadcast today. So please go ahead and post something that you'd like to ask him. Be challenging. So my question for you, Glenn, is tell me about the most exciting, the most fun speaking engagement you've had in the past, whether it was the most fun or it was the most challenging for you to get it, and so therefore the most rewarding.
All right. Good question for you. I wanted to start off with a snarky one-word answer, just put you guys on the spot, make you feel like I do sometimes when I'm interviewing people and they are just completely dead fish. But fortunately, these two over here are amazing guests. So I know that these questions are going to be awesome. All right. Very thoughtful question. I would say the most challenging but rewarding time I ever had on stage was at the AHOA event 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It took place at the Gaylord Opryland Resort in Nashville. And I just started my own business. And I was no longer affiliated with my former company back then. I was still setting a path for who I was going to be as a future hotel industry professional. And the amazing people at AHOA said, Glenn, we'd like you to host not one, but 2 panels each day during our general session, 1 panel each day over 2 days, each one with 5 of the top CEOs in each business. So 10 in all. So I had Chris Nassetta, I had Arnie Sorensen, I had the CEO, I had David Kong, and some of the other CEOs who have since moved on. But I went into it thinking, wow, what an incredible opportunity this is going to be. We're going to have such great conversation. But what I didn't realize is when you're talking to CEOs at that particular level, the challenge is completely different. Getting them to cede the floor to other CEOs was a real big challenge, while also trying to get them to say anything of merit that could affect how they're perceived on Wall Street was another big challenge. So I felt like it was a major dance I had to do over 2 days. It was emotionally exhausting, but incredibly fulfilling to be able to go toe-to-toe with all 10 of those incredible gentlemen. And the thing that made it most exciting for me was just like you two right there, you've got a giant list of questions. I had my questions. I had my safety net. I put them all in my pocket, and not once in 2 days, over 2 hours on stage, did I look at those notes once. I just listened and I asked questions that I thought were pertinent, and I walked off stage and I got a speaking gig because people liked what I did. So that was the most challenging but rewarding and exciting speaking gig I ever had, not including every time I've spoken at Chris's conferences, because those are the best. You can't beat them.
Excellent.
You know, you kind of touched on where I wanted to go next, Glenn. I mean, it's interesting for me because when we talk about hospitality, Kimberly and we're in hospitality. I run hotels for a living, and Kimberly runs hotels for a living. But you are what I would say peripherally in hospitality. You make your living, and your business is surrounded around hospitality, but you don't run hotels or restaurants. What has created in you? Where did it come from, this passion? And then, did you ever imagine yourself sitting on a stage with 5 of the top 10 CEOs in our business, asking those questions and becoming the voice that you are for our industry?
I'll start off by saying no, but yes. I didn't think about that at the beginning, but when you think about setting goals for yourself and creating your career path, you need to think about those sort of things. And I guess this is where we can talk about that passion issue, Chris, because when you talk about passion, for me, I'm lucky. It just was built into me. I happen to be a naturally curious person, and I enjoy learning about every single thing that's out there. My wife was giving me flack the other day because I was watching a video the other day about cotton gins and how they work. So I find the mundane fascinating, and I think that that's really helped me want to learn and want to get out there. Plus, I started off my career in the music and entertainment industry, not as a performer. I would have fallen flat on that, but as a journalist behind the scenes. So I would go and I'd interview these celebrities and stuff like that. And I found out that they were all horrific individuals to want to be in the same room with, while simultaneously learning that all the people that were also in the room interviewing these celebrities were all sycophants and all wanted to do was get a taste of that celebrity. And they didn't bring any natural interest or inclination to journalism in it. So I finally got tired of that. Thank goodness I found my way into the hospitality business, because this business is better than Hollywood. It's a whole heck of a lot more fun. And how could you not be passionate about the one industry that, in my opinion, covers all industries that are out there? We got, you got the operation side and you've got your business side, but you've got food and beverage, you've got design, you've got real estate, you've got finance, you've got customer behavior, you've got marketing, you've got every single thing that's out there. So instead of me sitting around and writing about pest controls for one of those magazines, I get to talk about every single category that's out there. Oh yeah, technology and lots of other stuff that I'm not mentioning right now, but it's an endless well of interest for me. So no matter what's going on, there's always 10,000 other things I want to learn about.
Yeah, Kimberly, did you know that? I mean, I never knew that. People ask me about, to Glenn's point, about the hotel business and hospitality, and they just still think it's the, we check them in and clean the bed. But our business is so diverse. You can do anything, any like vertical, sales, market, whatever. You can do it in the hospitality industry, but did you know that getting in, Kimberly? Did you know that when you started?
No, I didn't. Actually, I started as a front desk manager. So working your way up, you just learn as you go what the opportunities are. But you're right.
Yeah.
You are so
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
most people do. I think, I remember when I was a young girl and I used to watch, I don't know if you guys, I'm dating myself, that show, Hotel, Connie Selica and all that, right?
I didn't watch it, but I was very aware of it. I did find out who shot JR a couple of years before that.
But I remember, behind the scenes of a hotel is so much different than what the guest sees, which is so exciting to know. And I think that makes a big difference. And you brought a lot of that out, Anthony, just in that different aspects of the hotel business and Glenn, and how we talk about the hotel business and what options there are, what opportunities there are, and all the different moving parts of that.
That's the thing, Kimberly. We don't really talk about that enough. And it's one area that I'd really like the hotel schools to get out there and share on a more meaningful way. I think most people, when you think about going into the hospitality industry, you think, oh, I'm going to work at the front desk, or maybe I'm going to be a manager. They don't even have a concept of the fact that there are two great professionals that I'm talking to today that don't do any of that. They run management companies. What about investments? What about all these other areas? I know a lot of great people that just do marketing for technology products, for example, but it's all in hospitality. So I think it's incumbent upon each and every one of us to get the message out there that working in the hotel business means working in any sort of business just through the visage of the hotels.
Yeah, let me ask you, Glenn, who's a guest that you think that our industry really needs to hear from that hasn't been on the show yet? Who would you like to get?
I'm looking at you, Chris Nacetta. I'm looking at you, Arnie Sorensen, right now. You guys need to come on this show. I'd also like Pat Pacious over at Choice to come on to this show, please. I have been pleading and begging. Oh, and Jeff Bellotti, you too. I don't know why none of them are coming on this show yet. But please come on. We've got a great audience of people that are supporting what you are doing out there. They want to hear from you. We are the spirit and passion of this business, and there's no better way for you to communicate your messages than coming on our show. So, Mr. Sorensen, Mr. Nacetta, Mr. Bellotti, Mr. Pacious, and anyone else I might have forgotten that's not been on here yet, please come on the show. We'll treat you with respect and give you an opportunity to shine and show how much you love this business. I need those guys to come on here. It's very frustrating because throughout this, and I'm not going to mention any names specifically, but I've been reaching out behind the scenes to a lot of people. A lot of people have come on this show, but certain people are not coming on this show. And I keep trying to explain to them why they need to be on this show through their PR people. And I think coming on here and being out front and open and honest, everyone here has seen the benefits that brings to that individual and their company. I don't know what they're scared of. I keep hearing excuses. They don't have time or they're not ready to talk. I don't think that's good enough. I think if you come on this show, people are going to love you, and it is going to be a great investment in their time.
I'd like to expand on that a little bit, Chris, because I think you're right, Glenn, about that. I think that between Anthony and you and the people that are watching this show, and I was going to ask you this question as well, but I think that people want to hear something on. They're tuning in for a reason. They're tuning in for a purpose. And so to hear from the top of the brands that are out there, I think that's incredibly important. So I agree with you 100%. And what do you think, to expand on that a little bit, what do you think when people are tuning in, the audience is tuning in, what do you think they're trying to get? Because obviously they're hungry. They're hungry for information. They're hungry for something. So what do you think that they're trying to get from the show?
They're trying to get peace in their lives, control in their lives, a better understanding on what their path forward could be for them personally by being on this show. And I think that that's where some of the confusion is coming in when I'm trying to get these specific guests. I'm not a news outlet. I'm not here to play the gotcha game. I am here to educate, empower, and entertain hoteliers. So each and every one of you guys that are watching this right now could be the best professional that you could possibly do. And having those individuals come on will cut down on a lot of the issues that the major brands could be having. It'll give them a chance to directly communicate to their core audience, not the folks watching CNBC that are worried about the stock price, but the operators, the hotels that are in their family of brands. And that's why it's so important for people to come onto this show to help hotel industry professionals feel secure in their lives, get that sense of control, and help them create a path forward. And folks that have made it to that CEO corner, they have a responsibility, I think, to allay the fears of our audience and help them find a way through this. Just kind of like what Anthony and I have done in creating this venue for people to be open and honest and treated with dignity and respect while being educated.
I think it makes a good point. I can't answer for them at all. And I don't know the answer, but I do know that you guys have stayed. And one thing I respect about you so much, and why I'm always so comfortable being extremely transparent, is you guys don't come down on one side or the other of the aisle. You come down on the side of hospitality.
That's right.
And that's what matters. That's what we care about, and that's what we're trying to push forward. And I think that that's what's been so healthy about what you guys are doing, and what's been so embraced by the hospitality community about what you're doing. So I think if you keep ringing that bell, eventually it'll get answered.
And I do want people to know, speaking of politics, I'm not in a political party. I have never been in a political party. My beliefs are very, very straight down the middle, moderate. I'm one about compromise and understanding. And I think that shows most of the time in this show. There are certain things that I am outrageously angry about in this particular current environment, but it doesn't change the fact that I think my views are sensible and down the middle and understanding. I truly believe that we could all make more money together while taking care of other folks in society that might need a little bit of help. So nobody's going to try to pin me on one side or the other, but what are you going to do?
Well, and I think that's a positive thing, because right now in the media, we don't have that. We don't have that straight line of talk of just let's get the information, let's get the facts, and not have it swayed one way or the other. Let's just ask the questions.
Right, exactly. And I think I try to ask my question in that curious way, right? We talked about that. I'm curious about absolutely everything. So, I joke about this before, and I don't know if anyone gets my reference, but I try to act like Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, that 1980s Saturday Night Live skit, to bring it back, right? Phil Hartman, God bless his soul, one of the best comedians ever. I love that guy. And when he died, it really affected me personally. But I love that character because he was like, the whole premise of it was he was a caveman that was frozen in a crevasse, and then thousands of years later was unfrozen and then became a lawyer. And every time he would go into court, he'd be like, I'm just a caveman. I don't know. And then he would be able to say anything because it was coming from a place of naivete or innocence, right? And that's kind of how I try to be. Just ask the straight questions down the middle. Just be curious with no political agendas, except trying to get every hotelier out there to be more successful in their lives and their careers. That's my biggest agenda.
That's good stuff. So let me ask you, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Other than present company, right? What do you remember a super entertaining or a guest where you were like, that was just amazing and blew my mind since you guys started the show?
Probably. The problem is I've got COVID brain, and we've been doing this for 6 months, 4 or 5 days a week. So we're talking hundreds of shows at this point. So it's really, really hard to pick out a very specific moment that really sticks out to me. But hearing things from certain guests that I didn't think were going to go well always surprises me. I always have a preconceived notion about how I think a segment is going to go. Who's going to be right on target? Who's not going to be? Who is somebody that I think has a good title, but I don't necessarily have confidence in their ability to translate into this particular medium here with their knowledge base. But those people, the ones that I don't think are going to be most successful on the show, or the ones that I have no real opinion of, they seem to be the ones that are always the most awesome and interesting. And then you get the flip side of it, where you think a conversation is going to go one way and then it goes a totally different way, and you have to compensate for that. Like the interview that we had with Harris Rosen. I had him on the podcast 2-3 years ago on the No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman Proper show. And when he was on here 2 months ago, I didn't expect him to come on with the weight of the world on his shoulders, with the issues that he was dealing with the responsibility that he felt to his thousands and thousands of associates and the situation that he was in. Jerry Inzarello was really awesome. So was Horst Schulze, but it's really hard to single all of those people out. Everyone who has come on this show has contributed something important and valuable to our community, and we couldn't do it without all of those incredible guests coming on every day. So sorry to not answer that question directly. I hate when guests do that to me, but it's really, really hard to pin down, any specific individuals. I am surprised, though, anytime someone from Marriott comes on, because they are horrific to deal with on a PR side. Nothing personal, Marriott. You know how controlling you are over there. So getting any of them to try to come on the show is very, very difficult. But when Mike Stengel came on, who runs the Gaylord brand, that was absolutely incredible. The guys from the Drew in Las Vegas, they were awfully incredible. So it just goes to show that all of the companies that are fearful of putting people on are the ones who are missing out. And anyone that comes on this show is going to have a great experience. Boy, I really perverted that.
You're sticking it. Can I have a follow-up here? So what do you do? This is my first time ever hosting or co-hosting. What do you do when a guest goes sideways? How do you handle that? Like when you're live, what's the best way to handle that in your opinion? You're a pro at it. So
I think a lot of it has to do with the number of reps that I've had, right? Besides doing hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and video shows, I've been on stage a gajillion times. So I've seen and had a lot of experiences over the last 10 or 15 years that I've been focused on the speaking element of my career, that I don't think there's any situation that could happen that I'm not ready to deal with. So it's not necessarily the exact situation. It's just having enough experience to have the confidence to know that any situation that's going to come up, you will be able to pivot and move it to the direction that you want. It's the feeling of control that you have to keep all of the time is what I try to focus on. And I do not let guests get out of whatever I need them to answer. Sometimes they try, but it doesn't work out. Did that answer your question at all, Chris?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I think it's like anything else, like a professional athlete, you're well trained, so you can see when it's going sideways and then redirect it. So Kimberly, what do you got?
My question would be, Glenn, Chris and I've talked with other counterparts in our industry, and we as a company are doing this, but we're all re-envisioning what the future might look like. I mean, we're all trying to figure out, being people that are used to having some control over what's going on, have little control over what's happening right now, and trying to figure that out. So for you and for Anthony too, you guys are having to re-envision what your career path is going to look like, how you're going to take your business. So talk a little bit about what you're doing. I know this was a first step too, because this was a different approach because of COVID.
Well, when it comes to the podcast, I was doing great with podcasts. My whole business was doing great. And I'm not afraid to say that because I lost it. I lost pretty much everything, right? Chris stuck by me. I really appreciate that. Almo Hospitality stuck by me. I really appreciate them. SkyTouch Technology stuck by me. I really appreciate them. And a couple of other folks as well, such as SLX Hospitality. Go check out those guys. They've been really terrific. But what really happened was I was doing No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. I had the Hotel Tech podcast, the Hotel Design podcast, the Business of Hotels podcast. All of that went up in smoke. Within 48 hours, along with dozens of speaking gigs that not dozens, 24 speaking gigs, 25 speaking gigs I had set for this year. Everything disappeared. I took a massive, massive hit this year because everything I had been working for suddenly turned against me. I had been really working hard to get those amazing speaking gigs where I could just go on stage and do this for an hour and get paid for it and not have to do any real work anymore, right? But I lost all that. I lost all those additional podcasts. I lost a lot of advertising, and I was just like everybody else, stuck with having to figure out a path forward. And I remember when I was going to quit my last job and start this company, how upset that I was and how distressed that I was at having to make massive change in my life, how difficult that can be for each and every one of us. And a year in advance, I knew I was going to quit that job and start my own business. And I learned at that time to visualize what I wanted things to be like. And I'm not talking like Oprah and The Secret and all of that kind of stuff. There may be some overlap, but I really pictured who I would be in the future. Where would I want to be? And no matter how sad and upset and depressed I was in that period of my life, I looked forward to a year from then. So when all this happened and I lost all of that business, I knew that I had built a foundation to be successful upon. My skill set hadn't going away. I would just have to work harder and make changes. And as painful as it was to have to restart everything from ground zero, I set out to do it. It's still not going great. We need more sponsors on the show, guys. Sponsor the show. That'd be really helpful. But things are moving in the right direction. And I know that things are going to be okay. But it took a little while, and it took a lot of personal patience and visualization. And on certain days, I am freaking exhausted. And Anthony and I talk about that stamina thing all the time. And I feel like I need more stamina than ever before right now. But I know it will be okay. As long as I trust my skills and I work really hard and I don't get too focused on what I'm doing now that makes me inflexible.
I agree with that. I think I asked David to put up Kim Hodge's comment.
Yes, exactly. And let me answer Kim's question. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Kim. But sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's impossible to see that. And the fact of the matter is, I was in a great position in terms of how people perceived me and financially in February. I may not be in that same position financially today, but I will get back to it. But incredibly, I would say, and you all out there, you be the judges, but I think my position in our business as somebody that's trusted and as a known voice has soared over this last 6 months. And if the economy comes back, I'm going to ride that wave. Anthony and I have created something very special here. And I went into it honestly and openly without thinking about making money at the beginning of it. All of that will come. It has always come in my life. Everything has always worked out. It's just, you got to focus and you've got to work hard and you've got to make it happen. Just like you two are doing every single day in your businesses, dealing with crises none of us ever expected to face in our lifetime.
Well, I mean, Glenn, listen, you're the CEO of your company, and in the tough times, the CEOs that are aggressive invest in the future, and that's what you're doing. You just said it. You're I don't know what your standing within our corporate world has just expanded, and even though everybody's budgets are tight and they may not be able to pay for that right now, that value is still there.
That's right.
Just like Chesapeake's value or Cornerstone's value. I mean, that stuff's still there. I wanted to pivot just real quick before we go to some viewer questions, and keep sending in the questions. We need them. We have some. But I want to pivot to one. So Glenn, this is more personal. Mm-hmm. I know you've said in the past that you like to barbecue. I'm interested in finding out what about barbecue entices you and keeps you interested. There's a couple questions here. What's been your best result ever that you would share? And then what's the most expensive piece of equipment? Because I know there's expensive pieces of equipment that go with barbecuing that you've invested in. And maybe your wife is watching or she's not. I don't know. So
no, she's not watching. Thankfully, she does not care about any of this. So I could speak freely without anyone in my family having a clue. And I should say, this is the first day in 6 months I am alone in my house. All right, there's a lot of cats around, but other than that, everybody is back to school today. So I'm feeling like things are getting back to normal. Most expensive piece of barbecuing equipment. I got my, just got the regular Weber grill, but I got a really high end one. I think that was probably about $1,200. I splurged on that a couple of years ago. Last summer, I got myself this badass Traeger. I love the wood pellet grilling. I went back and forth. Should I get the green egg? Should I get the Traeger? Should I use a smoker that requires wood? I don't have that many hours in the day to focus on that. So I went with the Traeger. Thankfully, we were doing the Checking In with Anthony and Glenn podcast at the time, which is now combined with No Vacancy to create this show. Somebody was listening and they hooked me up with a major deal. So I got that piece of equipment really, really inexpensively, as well as a bunch of other stuff, because people might not be able to support me with advertising and stuff like that. But I've been getting some goodies along the way to help me.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, so I had a question about, let me do I had some fun thing I wanted to do. This is a very quick.
I'm a little worried. We don't like to have fun on
this is for fun. So this is called the lightning round, Glenn.
Uh-oh.
You have to go quick. Are you ready?
Uh-huh. You do realize it now goes against what you said to give you long.
Not well. You're not supposed to tell the pre-show stuff, Glenn. All right, everybody else keep sending in your questions. Okay, lightning round for you, Glenn. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, scuba dive or safari adventure with National Geographic?
Safari.
Okay, favorite restaurant?
Anyone I'm in.
Okay, good answer.
It's true. I am so lucky. I hate to slow you down, but I'm so freaking fortunate to get to eat in so many incredible places where sometimes people might know who I am and my role in the business, and before you know it, we're getting like course after course after course after course just sent. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of amazing, incredible dining experiences. But early on in my career, one of them was Alex, formerly at the Wynn, Las Vegas, and me and the one and only Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics got something like 19 dishes. Must have been a $2,000 dinner, and we got the whole thing comped. But the best part was there was an editor of a competing publication over there who was just shocked that we could even afford to be there. And then to watch us get fawned over and then get no bill was just the best thing at that time of my career. It was freaking awesome. But that was like 10 years ago.
Very nice. Okay, back to the lightning round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most inspiring speaker who influences you now or in the past?
That's a real tough question. I mean, Anthony does a great job, so I want to give him a little props there. But I consume so many things that I don't really think it's one specific individual as much as an amalgam of what all of those people have brought to the table and have helped me create the style that I have here.
You're really messing with my lightning round here, Glenn.
All right, I promise to be better. I promise to be better.
Okay, last concert you went to?
Fish, of course.
Okay.
I knew that.
All right. Do you prefer reading a paper book or electronic?
I enjoy paper books, and I'm reading a book by David G. Schwartz right now on the history of the Sands Las Vegas. And I just asked producer David to get him on the show because he's done the podcast before. Okay,
very good. Best speaker gift you've ever received?
Oh, my God. I don't know about the... dude, thank you, Michael Sumi, who was just on our show a couple of weeks ago. I'm having some friends over. I'm screwing with it, Kimberly. I'm having my friends over on Saturday for our end of summer bash. Yes, socially distanced, just a few couples, people we trust, people in our pod. Don't give me any flack. Michael Sumi used a service called Drizzly to send me a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. And that was absolutely incredible. I really appreciate that, Michael, but my friends may have appreciated it even more.
Very good. Person you would like most to interview?
Hey, Arnie, Chris, Pat,
you might have a new one. No one new?
Someone else. Honestly, we had on Jerry Inzerillo, we had on Horst Schulze, we had on some of the people that we most respect in this business. So I really would go back to those CEO people, most of all, with the folks that I'd really like to get on the show. I don't mean to be cute, but
actually, I think reiterating that is good.
Yeah, they really would be huge to have to come on here, and that is where my goal is set right now. I wouldn't mind getting on some. I wouldn't mind getting on some Hollywood celebrity types that have stayed in hotels and stuff like that, because I think that would be fun, but it's not something that I'm passionate about. I love the business leaders, and I need to see those people on stage. All
right. Favorite vacation spot?
Another tough question. I was hoping it was going to be Japan this summer, but it's very difficult to say a particular place of vacation, but we really just want to go to an island somewhere and sit on a beach at some point. I'd just be left alone for a week. I really want to go to Costa Rica at this point and just go hang out with the monkeys on a beach.
Okay. Nice. Best compliment you've ever received?
You didn't suck as much as I thought. But honestly, people saying that I've actually made a difference in their lives, which is something that is so meaningful to me and so surprising to me. I'm here just trying to talk to people and put on a show that has a little bit of entertainment value and education every day. And to hear the outpouring of responses that I've gotten, that I've made a difference, that people are finding things within them and giving them strength to be able to find success and giving them the tools to be successful. Anytime I hear that, there's nothing more rewarding.
Okay. And in the spirit of James Lipton, the gentleman who used to do Inside the Actors Studio, if you could ask God one question, what would it be?
If you exist, would you do us a favor and let us know? I'm getting tired of being agnostic over here.
Gotcha. Understood. That's a good one. It's a lot of weight we all carry right now, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it would really be nice to have that answer, because the whole God thing causes so much stress for the entire world. If we could get that figured out. I have a lot of issues with organized religion in general. I'm just a born non-believer. I have no disrespect for people that do believe, but I have just never seen it. I've just never understood it. I've searched for it in my entire life. And there's an element that people that are religious and have found that comfort, I'm sort of jealous of them. But I was raised Jewish, and I'd go to synagogue and I'd sit there and I'd be like, I don't get it. I just never got it.
I knew you said you were Jewish on another episode.
Yeah, I'm very culturally Jewish, all Jew there, but I'm not a very religious person. I like celebrating the holidays because it brings you together, and I do like the spiritual aspect of that. And I think that is important for people to have. I just don't connect with a spiritual being as much as I believe in. We have the power in ourselves, and with the help of members in our community to be successful. And I'm not going to give some unknown being credit for all the stuff that we work hard on and people help us do.
Understood. All right. Well, I think we're ready for the comments and questions from the audience.
Let's look at some of them.
All right. And I love actually being able to talk. This is the least stressful show I've had all year. This is awesome.
So, Glenn, what's the greatest piece of advice you've heard since the pandemic began? That comes from Michael Weinberg.
That's a tough one, Michael. I wouldn't say it's the one piece of advice, but I think putting together what a lot of people have said, it really comes back to what Anthony and I have been talking about all the time. Stamina. This is going to be a long time. Keep your eyes just 400 feet in front of you, and realize that there's another 400 feet after that, and another 400 feet after that. We have to break down things into little bite-sized chunks in order to be able to survive right now. And understanding that it's just today and focusing on being okay today is good enough. Don't get consumed with worrying about what's going to happen a year or two from now, or things that are out of your control. Think about how you can be the best you can be every day, and keep the strength and stamina to be successful over time.
Yeah, and I think, Glenn, that's super important to remember now, because Kimberly and I were talking Friday, and we're only probably in the baseball term, probably the fourth inning, in my opinion, right now, maybe third inning right now. So there's a long way to go.
Let's just hope it's not a doubleheader.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing, I think it would be interesting at some point to hear from somebody on how do we mentally, all of us super aggressive hospitality people, deal with this kind of repetition or Groundhog Day effect that we're dealing with.
Insane. So I can't believe it's past Labor Day now. I mean, guys, it still feels like it's March in some ways. This whole last 6 months have been a very bizarre out-of-body experience. Very surreal.
David, you got our next question. The producer, David's doing a great job here. How and when did you meet Anthony?
All right. So this story has a few different components to it. The first year of Hotel Impossible, Anthony was hired to be a speaker or hang out at a party for a particular supplier. I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting who that is right now, but it took place at the High Tech in Baltimore. I went and I interviewed him for the podcast that I was doing back then. I used to run the publication Hotel Interactive, and we had something called Hotel Interactive Radio. And I knew 10 years ago that podcasting was interesting. It was going to be something, and I wanted to develop my skill set on that. I had a chance to interview him at that event, and he was shocked that I'd actually watched the show. It was only 5 or 6 episodes in at the time. We hit it off, et cetera, et cetera. when I left my former job and I started this podcast, I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'd love to have you as a guest on the show. He was kind enough to grant me an appearance with him. And he came on and we did it over Skype, and he did the interview. We had a great time. And I said, hey, that was awesome. I'd love to do it again with you sometime. And he said, hey, I got some time now. Let's just knock out another one. We did a second show, and before you knew it, 2-3 months later, he's like, I got to get in this podcasting business. You know what you're doing. Let's do something together. Then we spent a few months trying to figure out how that would go. And then we launched Checking In with Anthony and Glenn in August of 2018. And as they say, the rest is history.
That's a good story.
It is.
It's a good story. David, what else you got for us? Robert Pattinson, thumbs up or thumbs down, and why?
I'm going to say thumbs neutral. I don't really care about Robert Pat. He was Dracula guy from the Twilight, but he's the new Batman. Yeah. So that's why he would be on my radar. I don't know. I think jury's out. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to make a call on him either way. We're going to leave it up to the director's vision on that one. So we'll see. Check back this time in a year and a half or so when the movie's out, and we'll see which way it's going to go. And if I see Tenet and he kicks ass in Tenet, then I'll give a big thumbs up. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. He's one of the, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best filmmakers ever.
I know I've been dying to see movies. We got another comment from Colleen. She said she hasn't heard you talk so long at once since the podcast started.
Well, Colleen, you try hosting a show with Anthony, and you see if you get a chance to talk.
One of the positive things I think today in the conversations that we're having is that you said, I think that is so impactful today, is that things happen and we have bad moments in time in our lives and things go wrong, or we feel like they're going wrong. And then how do you turn that around? How do you get that positive? How do you keep positive to move it forward? Because in my life, and you said it yourself, Glenn, and that is, even at the worst things that have happened to me have always tended to be in the end the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yep.
And it's given me an opportunity to look at what I'm doing or to find a different way. And even when somebody says no, sometimes years later they come back and say yes. And so for you, it's the same thing. And I think today in our environment and those that are working in this industry and that are in it every single day. I mean, those general managers, those heads of housekeeping, those chief engineers, the salespeople that are struggling every day, going out and doing the grind in a tough environment. Trying to keep that perspective is really hard. And I think it's good to hear from somebody else besides Chris and me and people like us to keep your head up and to keep going. Yep. Hear it from you and how you've done it, I think is really inspirational. And I think it makes a difference.
I totally appreciate that. And to go back to what Kim Hodge said here, sometimes things like this are a blessing in disguise.
Yep.
And at the onset of this, it was something that I needed to really think about all the time. Life is never easy. There are moments where you feel like you can be on cruise control. And I was on cruise control, that's for sure. And loving being on cruise control for all of 4 weeks of my career, right? So the reason why I'm able to stay super positive is number one, I'm very fortunate that I have a chemical balance that allows me to be a positive personality, and you can't discount that. I'm very fortunate to have an ineffable quality of shit gets me down and I get really depressed about it, but it doesn't stay with me. Instead of prolonging it, I feel it very intensely for a very short period of time. And then I'm able to be positive again and move forward. That allows me to take proactive approaches and make proactive choices in my life that give me a feeling of control, which I mentioned earlier. And if you don't have control in your life, that is, I think, the root cause of why people feel sad and depressed. Not depression, which is a medical condition, but feeling depressed because of that. So then you got to put in the hard work, right? So it's an issue of, number one, I was lucky to be born this way. Number two, I recognize that shit happens and we all have to deal with it. Number three, you just got to get on with it. And, number four, keep moving forward no matter what. The more singles you can get, you start to hit in runs, and then you start to build more and more confidence, and it becomes a virtuous circle. So the whole thing is to try to, in my opinion, stop whatever the pattern was before and get the universe to realign to love you again, right? It may sound a little bit hokey, but if you just put out positive energy all the time and you take control over your life and do not let life control you, that's when things are going to get, that's when things are going to go in your favor. I see that too much, where people allow things to happen to them and they will create myriad excuses as to why that's happening without accepting responsibility for themselves and their actions. I'm too old to play that game anymore. If I don't make it happen, nobody is going to make it happen for me. I don't have some sort of wealthy benefactor, and I got a mortgage to pay every month, and I got twins that just started 11th grade, and I got to figure out how to pay for college in 2 years. And I'd love for you guys to sponsor the show because of this.
Sponsor Glenn and Anthony. Yeah. Oh, here's a question. Can you let's see. I'm wondering from all of you, the biggest innovation is due to COVID that will change hospitality forever. We're all learning from this. What's going to stick? Glenn, we're interviewing you, so what do you think?
I have the answer. And I cannot tell you what it is. However, on September 16th, all will be revealed. Anthony and I have been hired to help with a product launch that's coming September 16th. You are going to hear more about it very, very soon, starting tomorrow. But this is something that has blown Anthony and I away, that has a big chance in changing everything that we are dealing with right now to help bring confidence back to the entire hospitality industry. So it hasn't happened yet, but that is what I am most excited about. If you want to talk about the things that are tangible, the things that we see right now, I think the number one thing is how incredible all of the executives have been that I've interviewed on this show, and how they are not allowing things to affect them, how they are taking control of this situation. Chris, I completely admire what you've done at your company, for example, how you've worked really hard not to lay off your core team. That's the type of stuff that is inspiring to me and is absolutely incredible to me. And I think is the stuff that we all need to rally behind and put first.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're, believe it or not, we've done 52 minutes. So we're getting close to the wrap it up final thoughts.
Yeah, this is like,
Glenn Hausman.
It's like the shortest show ever because I get to talk. This is so much fun. I don't have to curb myself.
Well, I mean, before you give your final thoughts, Glenn, I think we're going to have David flash a couple comments up here. But I think sometimes you're wondering, when you're wondering what you guys have done, Kyle says, thank you for the show. You guys have helped me stay connected and motivated or contacted. He got a job recently, and I think the podcast helped. How about that? I mean, that's powerful.
Awesome.
That's so amazing to hear. Thank you for sharing that. That stuff right there, that makes everything worth it. That makes the sacrifices that I've had to make and my family have had to make to get us through this time worth it. It has made all of the hours that I spend preparing to do this show every single day worth it. When we first started, before I had David helping out and producer Jeff helping out, I was spending 5-6 hours a day on getting this show up and running just so we can talk to you guys for an hour. So hearing all of those stories of inspiration, that makes everything worthwhile. And knowing that everything's going to work out for me in the end, that helps too.
Well, good. So there's one more. Kimberly, this is from Steve. It says, no vacancy live has been metaphorically our industry's shepherd's hook. I guess you got one hanging behind you to guide us through the darkest days. That's pretty powerful. And I think it's true of what you guys have been doing for us. For me too. I told you how cathartic it is for me to listen and just you giving me a place to talk about the industry I love, frankly, has been very cathartic for me. And a lot of times it's the way I get through the day. I'll go through tough meetings and budget meetings, and then I get to come on here and just talk about the business I love with people that I really have huge admiration for. So it's impacted me, Glenn.
And you're impacting others by showing your vulnerability, Chris, by being open and honest, Kimberly. You're telling everyone in the audience, anyone that's ever listened, that you're human too. And the problems that you're having are their problems as well. And nothing that they're facing in their lives is insurmountable because you folks are dealing with the biggest challenges of your lives and handling it with grace and aplomb. And that is why I love doing this show. in a
Well,
nutshell?
I think if we're not honest as an industry with the people that work with us, the people that that we work with, I think if we don't have those honest conversations, we don't get anywhere. And so I think the ability for Chris and I to connect, or for us to connect with other people, and this show, actually being on the show, has helped with me being able to connect with other people and just talk about what they're doing and learn what they're doing. And I think all of us are growing from what you're doing. And I think you and Anthony putting this together, every single viewer, whether they speak or they comment or not, they're coming away with some empowered feeling from what the discussion is. They're learning something and they're taking it with them and they're teaching others, or they're putting it into practice. And I think that makes a huge difference. So you guys are making a huge impact in our
The only thing I would say differently is what we are all
no
doing.
question. No
Every
question.
single person who comes on the show is doing their part, and we couldn't do it without great people like you supporting us and coming on and sharing your stories.
Yeah.
All right, Glenn. So I'm going to put it.
Wait, one thing I just got to say. Yes, Maritza, we both have twins. His twins are a little bit older than mine. He has a pair of girls. I've got a pair of boys. I don't know how it happened. I guess it was destiny for us to come together. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I mean,
yeah, that's great.
The comments are rolling in now. I think that it's good. I hope it's for you cathartic to hear the impact you're making and give you some stamina as you roll forward. So
it feels freaking great. I gotta be honest with you. And anytime I get those emails and phone calls and posts and stuff like that, it's awesome. They've slowed up a little bit now as people are getting back to their lives and things seem to be normalizing a little bit. But at the same time, I don't need that boost as much as I did before. So really, when I tell everybody out there, and I do it from time to time, that I thank you and I love you guys for helping build this community, I truly mean it, because we are all in this together. Sometimes it sounds like just words, but we are all in this together. Your pain is our pain, and our pain and experience is what you guys are going through out there. And it's important for us to continue, as the show continues, Mondays through Thursdays at 12 noon every single day, for us to keep remembering that message, that together we will be able to get past any challenges that come our way and find success together. We'll all be able to take care of our families and maybe have a good time. And I do hope one day the three of us could hang out and have dinner and some drinks together in person.
Sounds good. Glenn, thanks so much for being honest and open and being willing to be interviewed by us two amateurs today. We'll turn the seat back over to you tomorrow.
That's right. And because you've done such a great job today on the show, Glenn, you get a shameless plug.
All right. I've been dreaming of being able to plug myself. All right. Watch this show every single day. Watch No Vacancy News Today, another little thing that I'm finally getting back on track doing. Please like my Facebook page on No Vacancy. Please like my LinkedIn page. If you're doing a virtual event this year, please consider having me be a part of it. Maybe I could host something. Maybe I'm actually working with a major brand right now behind the scenes, helping them figure out their path forward on the virtual event. And I'll be hosting a bunch of stuff. Also, I will be having a monograph book series coming out, along with videos and audio coming out this fall. Be on the look for that. And finally, if you're at property level and you want some consulting stuff, think about talking to me. I've got some ideas. I may talk to amazing people every single day and have some insights for you that we don't talk about on the air. I hope that was pluggy enough for you guys.
It was great.
Great job.
Oh, yeah. Find me, Glenn at rouse.media, or Traveling Glenn online.
Thanks for being on, Glenn.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll leave you guys to it. Thanks for
Thanks
taking
for
care of my
allowing us
show.
Taking over. Yeah, allowing us to take over.
All right. Love you guys. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Glenn. So what'd you think, Kimberly? What'd you learn today?
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about Glenn that I didn't know. And I think he has a lot to say that we don't often get to hear. And I think it was nice having him just by ourselves today. I think that was great. I think the comments also show that. So it was kind of nice. Anthony adds an extra value to the whole show because he does have industry experience. But I think Glenn has enough knowledge, being in the business from the side that he's been in, the component that he's been in, that he has a lot of good thoughts and things to say to us as a whole.
Yeah, he really cuts across the industry because he hears from everybody, so we can get points from brands all the way, operations, tech, whatever it is. He talks to everybody, so it really is super helpful. Listen, before we sign out today and say goodbye to everybody, I know you guys were impacted at one of your hotels down in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So yeah, how is that going?
Yeah, that was going to be my shameless plug for today, if I got one. And that was, we have a Residence Inn down in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and it was obviously impacted by Hurricane Laura. And if you are connected with me on LinkedIn, I've posted a GoFundMe. Cornerstone is putting up money to help our team down there. The hotel, obviously, we have insurance; it'll be taken care of. But our team, many of them are staying in the hotel right now because they've lost everything. They've lost their homes. They've lost their belongings. They have everything, only have their lives, which is a blessing. But we are trying to help them get back on their feet, to rebuild, and to help them get their homes back. To get supplies for their kids. They lost all their school supplies and clothing and everything. And so if you are not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do connect with me on LinkedIn and look at our GoFundMe. And if there's anything, I know everybody's hurting right now. I understand that. But we've had donations from $10 to $1,000. I mean, so we've had a lot and everything. My business partner, Craig, and I, Cornerstone, we're putting money in separately, not through the GoFundMe, obviously. And then our owners in the property are also putting money in. So anything that anybody can do to help, please, that would be greatly appreciated. Our team there is super fabulous, and they're working their butts off down there to get the property back online. So thank you.
It's a great cause. It's a great cause. So support them. Listen, I'll wrap up today by saying it was a great opportunity. I was trying to think of how I would wrap up. I'm going to wrap up with you the same way I wrap up with my team all the time. You guys see this little thing on my book here. It's DWMM. It's our company slogan. It's when I became CEO in October. I wanted people something to grab onto, and it means do what matters most. And for us, it resonates, especially in this time of difficulty and pain and confusion, is really focusing on what matters most. My family, my work, but putting things in the right priority, because listen, this is not going to last forever. And everybody that listens to this show and the people on the show are smart. We're going to come out of it. So remember every day to do what matters most. The things that make the most impact, to do those things. You guys for listening. Kimberly, thanks for co-hosting with me. It was great to do it together. And for Glenn and Anthony, I guess we'll see you, right? So
see you next time. Signing off. You guys have a great week.